Hello everyone, today I'm going to introduce you to a very adorable Chinese panda tattoo practice skin piece. This piece uses a round liner needle, turning down the voltage around 3 volts, and tattooing with a slow frequency. In this video, I'll demonstrate the entire tattooing process to help you better understand the application techniques of shading, making your tattoo learning journey easier, and have fun while tattooing. If you also want to try to tattoo a panda on fake skin, then you must watch this video. First, we transfer the design. Hold it steady with your left hand, and press down evenly with your right hand, and then removing the paper. Next, mix a cup of 10% concentration black ink, and fire up the machine. For ink absorption, we use a touch and go approach. Be careful not to dip the needle tip into the ink cup. Then grab a 1203RL needle. Work at a low voltage, usually around 3 volts. Because the appearance of the panda is furry, we'll use a heavy down, quick flick technique, pushing the needle down heavily, then flicking it up quickly. In the first phase, we're just outlining, so it's best to stick with the 10% ink concentration. No need to go too deep, around 1 to 1.5 millimeter is perfect. This technique is particularly suitable for beginners, although some sketching basics are required. Sketching forms the foundation of drawing. It helps us grasp basic knowledge like form, light, and color. Before getting into tattooing, make sure you've got your sketching basics down, things like light and shadow contrast, texture, and three-dimensionality. Moving on, the next steps are mainly about marking light and dark areas and figuring out structural positions. It's more about getting a feel for the piece. Don't sweat over the depth of the shading. Just spread out your needle marks lightly and naturally, kind of like you're sketching. Phase 2. Use pure black ink 100 concentration and quickly lay down your needle marks. Start with horizontal sweeps, then cross over to spread them out and avoid ink buildup. Be gentle. Natural sweeping motions are key. Don't worry if the first pass doesn't lay down. The color. Control skin damage, spread out your needle marks, and keep layering. Lightly sweep first, then wipe it clean to see how much ink has been applied. If it's too light, feel free to increase the pressure slightly. For inherently dark areas like pupils, you can be bold and go for denser, more forceful needle marks in a small sweeping range. For features like the mouth, where emphasis is on the lines, you can use a technique that's half dot, half liner. Once you've laid down some basic light and dark areas, go back and layer additional needle marks to emphasize the contrast. Pay attention to the reference image. This area is in shadow. Don't hesitate to be bold, increasing both the pressure and density of your needle marks. Treat it just like you're sketching. Observe the reference for the light and shadow effects on the ears. For the darker areas near the base, apply more pressure. When transitioning to the outer part of the ear, increase the sweeping range and lighten up on the pressure for a softer, more natural blend. For the top of the head, oscillate the tattoo needle up and down. Create a pattern where the middle is solid and the ends are lighter for a more natural, textured fur effect. Pay attention here. For tattooing fur, angle the needle slightly and use an up and down flicking motion. This will give you a natural fluffy look. For this area, go for a lighter misting effect. While focusing on the fur, also work to convey the round structure of the panda's head. Following the light and dark relationship you've already laid out, simply continue layering your needle marks. Phase 3. The foundational structure and inherent colors of the fur are mostly done. The next step is to increase the density of the needle marks, turning points into surfaces. For darker areas, increase both the density and the pressure, but be mindful to spread out the needle marks to avoid ink buildup. Once ink starts to accumulate, the design loses its uniformity, and it can also cause skin damage. When you haven't mastered the basics, your tattooing should be clean and straightforward. Feel free to go bold with coloring in darker areas. Be light and rhythmic. Don't grip the machine too tightly, or your hand will tire easily. Sweep along the direction of fur growth. Pay attention to light and shadow. Apply more pressure in darker areas and lighten up on illuminated surfaces. This foot is in the foreground, so enhance the sharpness and depth of the edges. For facial features, opt for lighter coloring. Tattoo along the direction of the fur, stroke by stroke. Start lightly, wipe off after a few needle marks, and observe the depth. If it's too shallow, gradually increase the pressure. Continue with light sweeps. Don't overemphasize the texture of the fur at this stage. Focus on creating light and shadow. The direction of the tattooing should still follow that of the fur. For optimal results, the tattoo artist should frequently adjust their stance. Lastly, emphasize the texture of the fur. Choose ink of different concentrations based on light and shadow. Tattoo each strand, creating a natural effect of light ends and a darker middle. Finally, unify the light and dark aspects, and you're done with the black and gray portions. Phase 4. Adding highlights. Prepare a cup of white ink. White is used to add luminance and texture to the design. You can adjust the density of the highlights to create reflective, shiny surfaces. For the shiny part of the ears, spread out the needle marks with white ink. This will create a soft white effect. For the fur here, each strand needs to be done individually. Be careful to offset it from the existing gray strands that already have good texture. Alright, thank you for watching this video. If you found it helpful, smash that like button and subscribe to my channel. And if you have any suggestions or questions, feel free to leave them in the comment below.